The COVID-19 madness continues. Are you scared yet? That's what they want. In order to make these radical changes that Agenda 2030 is gunning for, you have to make some radical shifts. And where the virus is popping up is quite strategic, as I'm finding. It's very sad because it is being targeted to vulnerable populations and places where traditions are getting in the way of development, where the elders have become an inhibitory factor to moving things forward, doing things the new way. They want everyone to be able to integrate into a cashless society, which is forthcoming. And in order to do that, they need to stop that sort of barter and trade thing going on, particularly in Indigenous cultures, where they're still feeding their families in a nomadic fashion, where they rely on herbal remedies and remedies from the shamans and elders, again, of their communities. In China, that is the attachment to Chinese medicine and not pharmaceutical medicine, is the elderly. They're in the way of progress. And I would say my demographic of 44 to 54 is slightly detrimental themselves. We've seen changes, and now they're trying to tell us that our currency is going to spread a virus. And this is where we have to know that at the end of the day, they're after our independence 100%. They don't want self-reliance in the future. They want us to rely on them. They've been socializing us for years towards this. Ladies, you don't have to cook. You don't have to know that stuff. What would you need that for? All to make their ways into our families and inject their ways instead of ours. A lot of this agenda is vaccines. And the goal of Agenda 2030 in Canada is to have 95% of the population vaccinated by 2030. And I think even before. They're trying to smooth the waters, but the people who are educating themselves and of course have and are attached to personal experiences with vaccines, that crowd is growing all the time and getting a lot more vocal. And I think we're going to have to get a whole lot more vocal ASAP, because it's events like this that are meant to literally shift us into a new way of being. For a lot of these vulnerable people where I see the virus popping up, Mato Grosso, Brazil, it's a soy growing region. It was apparently a young man who came back from Italy. Yet I have a viewer saying that that person was in a hospital in a major city. So it's interesting. The map and the media isn't meeting in the middle, particularly in the new cases. So I quickly quickly got off the China side, and I really started going after, in my research, the places where it was just starting, like Ecuador. One case. It was one case until 4 days ago. Now, today, 13. It's crazy. In Chile, yesterday, 2 days ago, there was only one. There's 4 now. But Ecuador was the big one. It's morphing. 13. That's up. It was 7 yesterday. That's a fast transmission rate. And that's an indigenous population, the Shuar. This is scary. Because it's clear that it's weaponized. Interestingly enough, I shot over to Nigeria today, and of course in a sensitive region where they're trying to open it up. Of course there's indigenous there as well, and it's all part of the plan for 2030. It's also part of the land reorganization. Where they're doing development, this is how Agenda 2030 works. They want the people, and sorry, as we get into, Africa has its own Agenda 2063 plan. They do. Nobody's left on the inside of Africa. By pulling these people from these more remote areas, they're moving them in the cities. That way, industry can flourish, but that will be hidden out because there will only be certain zones for people. I've watched this in Africa, in Uganda in 2015. I was there for a month vetting a fair trade organic cocoa cooperative who turned out to be a band of criminals. Everybody said, Martine, did you go out on any safaris? No. They wanted $1,000 a day Canadian. It was expensive. And I remember as I was, driving all over the area with my driver, our conversations went kind of like this, like, have you ever been out there? And they don't. Their kids never know the animals. They never know they're local. They want them in these cities. As Agenda 2030 emerges, you're going to see zones that are protected. And in the old days, you were able, you could go out and trek and do what you wanted. Not in this new landscape, you won't be doing that. Because also they're trying to border and protect industry. And they don't want everybody watching what's going on. Because activists are a problem. This is why driverless cars. This is why AI. This is why they don't want us to think for ourselves. This is why they want to vaccinate us. The vaccination, when you understand, when you're on the medical side, you see vaccination as a plus, as a preventative, but when you're on the natural side, it's not that at all. It's the depletion of your immune system. Completely contrary. Vaccination could occur in a homeopathic format that I think would be much more accepted, quite honestly. But again, this is a man-made virus. Unleashed. When I saw, oh my gosh, last night, it was the islands off north of Scotland, the Faroe Islands and their whale hunt. Guess what? They just got their first case yesterday. They have this horrible whale and dolphin hunt, but they actually eat the meat and they do it. It looks absolutely grotesque to all of us, but they've been doing it there forever. It's their thing. It's how they sustain themselves. It's part of the self-sustaining culture. But it's not good for tourism. So they just got their first case yesterday. Funny. Right in the middle of the ocean out there. Dominican Republic got its last week. Haiti hasn't yet, but I'm watching that. We need to watch the vulnerable areas. And in Africa, which only had one case as of last week, they're now popping up. I encourage you to get on to the Johns Hopkins map, and I will put the link there. And zoom in to the region. And you'll find too that the media articles, they're describing something else. And I've even gone through YouTube into Spanish speaking videos, and it is just meant to confuse and keep us off base. If you're or know people who are considered in the vulnerable population, this is where it's targeted mostly. Areas of development, that's their game. That's what they do. It's a different world we're venturing into. And 2020 is a shift. They even say that astrologically, but I'm seeing it now. If you are one of those people like me who is immune compromised, and I am immune compromised from the MMR vaccine, my booster, the booster that gave me the measles, a lifetime of asthma, and a childhood full of steroids and allergy medication. It was pretty bad, honestly. I don't believe in their efficacy, as we've seen with the flu vaccine. 10% efficacy, really? And you're going to inject me with these adjuvants that are absolutely toxic, like aluminum and mercury? Read the vaccine inserts. Please do that. Our health is precious. And quite honestly, if we stop looking at the authorities to do it for us like a herd, like an animal, this wouldn't be happening. This is all about productivity and perceived productivity. But it's insurance, pharmaceuticals, they're all in on it. And right now, this is time to start asserting our independence, but also start organizing together. I want to find a way to get a legal exemption from any future vaccine like this, because I am immune compromised. And quite honestly, allergies, gut issues, gut issues are huge. That means you're autoimmune. Seriously. Use it. If you have been failing to go to the doctor to get something diagnosed, you might want to do that. If it's an allergy or a immune issue, because if they try to make this universal, you'll be ahead of the game. It's an idea. It might not be good for insurance if you pay for it, though. See, they've got you coming and going. This is what it's all about. Absolute control. In any case, again, watch this and how it rolls out. And when you think of it, it's the same as a war. They always need an enemy. First it's CO2, now it's the COVID-19. This is a playbook, and we're being played. Like a bunch of sheep. It's a good thing I don't hang out with sheep. In any case, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'd love to have you. And of course, Facebook and Instagram. And keep well.